Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are we? You look fabulous. I hope you feel fabulous. And so I am honored to be here. So I want to thank the Chamber for inviting me. I want to thank Nika for being the most organized, efficient person I have ever met. So thank you. And I thank the Honorable Dillard for introducing me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I have a question for you. What is the next level of women's leadership? This is the audience participation part. So who wants to volunteer? What does the next level look like? Please stand. I think I need to turn this one off, right? Please stand.
I think we're looking for a woman president.
A woman president. So, participation has its privileges. Here you are, darling.
Thank you.
So the next question is, what is the next level of female board representation? Is it 10%? Is it 20%? We know it's 16 today. 60% participation has its privileges. And so here's a reality we face. We need to figure out how big the scope of women's representation really is. Are we really thinking about the next level of representation in Greenville? Are we thinking about it in terms of female representation in America? Or are we thinking about it globally? And is there a difference in what it takes to be a leader as a man versus a woman? The next level of leadership can be elusive, right? It can be vague, it can be intangible, and it can be hard to pin down. Or it can be strategic and tactical, planned, premeditated. And so today, we're going to spend time talking about being a strategic leader at the next level. The kind of leadership that takes us to the next level in all, in all aspects of our professional life, our community life, and our family life. Many believe, and I'm not sure what you believe, that leadership is defined by birthrights. See, it depends on who mama and daddy were and what mama and daddy exposed you to. Some people believe that it's about education. If you get a PhD, you're going to be a leader. They also believe that it's who you know. Some people believe that the right to lead at the next level is about the number of years of experience you have. Others believe it is about your social economic status, and others believe that it is about the title that you have. Well, I'm here to tell you that leadership is born out of our character. You see, if on Monday, leader A is found to have created a fraudulent document and did not tell the truth on a document, and then on Friday earns $1 million for the organization, what is the one word you would use to describe leader A on Friday? Right? A fraud and a liar. See, that $1 million has little significance when the character of the leader is flawed. And we can go on and on and on about Enron, Tyco. We can pick many organizations that were very profitable, but yet the character of leaders were flawed. And so as Chandra shared with you, my mantra is people follow character and not titles. Who are you as a leader? If you don't know who you are as a leader, why would someone put you in a leadership role? So, are you authentic? Are you humble? Are you honest? Are you approachable? Are you consistent? Are you ambitious? Are you wise? Are you generous? Are you optimistic? Are you present? Are you transparent? Are you disciplined? Are you patient? Are you accountable? Are you courageous? Are you a servant? Are you strong? Are you persistent? Are you passionate? Are you supportive of others? And the list goes on and on. So I think it's really important to have a defining moment. There are three things that I believe everyone needs to know they are as a leader. And the beauty is they're unique for each one of us. And so for me, the three things that I signed up to be more than 25 years ago was I was always going to be humble. I was always going to have high degrees of integrity, and I was going to be consistent. You see, I didn't want people to come into my office and have to ask my administrative assistant, is she in a good mood? Is it all right to go in there? I want people to know that every day, all day, I am a leader who reveals their people, right? And I don't want to be known as a positive person on Friday at 5 o'clock and a grumpy person on Monday at 9 o'clock. When you think about the leaders that you enjoy being around, think about some of those qualities. But most of all, have a defining moment for yourself. Who are you as a leader? And it is not what you say, it's what you do. And so please spend time as your first call to action today and find those three things that potentially many of you are already those three things. Put them on a piece of paper and ensure that you are those things all the time. You see, what are people saying about you before you get in the room? And what are they saying about you when you leave the room? Right? Because that's when presence takes place. We like this phrase, executive presence. See, it's not what you look like. It really is what you leave behind and what precedes you. That's your presence. And so think about that. If you were listening to that conversation, would it line up with the three things you say you are? As an emerging leader or a current leader, consider a few things. Struggle does not mean failure. It's hard to develop when you are always running from the next challenge. Those who follow the crowd usually get lost in it. Differentiate yourself. You may never know what results come out of your action, but if you do nothing, there will be no result. May I tell you a story about leadership and character? Yes. Oh, thank you. Just wanted to make sure. So as you think about leadership and character, I want you to think about, I know a woman and a family that in 1958 they left Walterboro, South Carolina, right on 95, they left. And they proceeded to New York City. And they left Walterboro, South Carolina, because they were picking cotton and cucumber, and they did not go to school. And they decided that they were going to go to a place where they thought that there was opportunity and have a family. And so when they got to New York City, they moved into public housing, because that's what people did who were moving and didn't have a lot of economic opportunity. And in public housing, they had 3 children. And the 3 things that they taught their children was, believe in something bigger than yourself. Believe that you were born with family, and when you leave this world, you'll still have family. And 3, education can break any cycle of hopelessness. And so these 3 kids grew up, and they had 2 girls and 1 boy. And the older girl was diagnosed as deaf. And so organizations stepped in to help. They had a middle daughter, and then they had a younger son. And I heard the younger son was just a spoiled brat. That's what they told me, I don't know. And so this family believed that this place called college could change the cycle of this family. And so they encouraged the middle child to go to this place called college. They didn't know anything about it, but they just felt that if this child got the opportunity, the family would be different. And so this middle girl went on a track to go to college. By the time this middle girl was going to 9th grade, her mom died. And so this little girl and her brother and sister were adopted and put into foster care and adopted. And so an aunt adopted them and took them in as her own and said, I didn't get to go to high school either, she said, but you've got to do that. You've got to realize the dream. And so this girl did. And so she did it based on this foundation of faith, family, and education. And so, if you will, she had this quote unquote anchoring. So it was a ladder of sorts. And so this young girl went to college. She worked for a judge in high school, and he helped her write her applications and apply to college so that the dream could be realized. Her first sponsor. This girl went to college and graduated and said, I want to be a professional woman and be someone who gives back. And so this girl got the opportunity to work in a global job, travel all around the world, and realize her dream. This girl, as she started to climb the corporate ladder, was a CPA. And she got to realize her dream. She kept getting promoted. And she said, wow, the world sure does look different when you are allowed to sit at the table as a leader. And then this girl realized that she wanted to do something else in her life. And in order to advance, she decided to take a demotion. Because she decided it wasn't the title that defined her, but the opportunity that defined her. And in taking that demotion, that young lady got promoted twice in a really short period of time. And so she realized sometimes you have to step back in order to step up to the next level. And then that young lady, on March 4th, after she had become a senior vice president at American Express, got a phone call that said, "Your daughter is having seizures. Please come home." I was in New York City that day, and my daughter, who was healthy, was diagnosed with epilepsy. And what I had lost track of in my glamorous career was faith and family. See, I deprioritized my family. I had a nanny and I had everything I wanted. And that day, I got my cinder block moment, my wake-up call. God and I cut a deal in the airport coming home. Anybody who's ever flown to New York City from Greensboro, it's 1 hour. That day, I sat in the airport for 4 hours because I had lost my balance. And so I said, "God, if you make Sophia all right, I'm going to quit this job. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I'm going to quit." I came home and went through a series of tests with Sophia. Sophia was fine, and I quit my job. I gave American Express a year's notice, and they said, surely, these platinum handcuffs, you're not going anywhere. And I said, oh, yes, I am. You see, I have to go back to that foundation of believing in someone bigger than I am, family, and that I'm an educated woman. And I can do anything. And so I quit that job. I had no idea what I was going to do. But I knew that if I took care of my family, everything was going to be all right. The day after I resigned, my phone rang. And it was the head of the hospital system who said, "I heard a rumor in town." And I said, "What's that rumor?" He said, "Come to my office." So I went to his office and he said, "I want you to be on my board of directors. I want you to be on my board of trustees. I've heard really good things about you, and I know that you are no longer working. Will you please be on the board?" And I said, "Let me think about it, because I don't know anything about healthcare industry." And he said, "You're smart. I'll teach you." My phone rang 2 weeks later. United Way. "Will you come and sit on our board? We know that you've been very, very busy, but we think that you can help our community move to the next level." And so as I was wondering what I was going to do, our leadership attributes, our character, and our skills speak for us when we're not in the room. And so opportunity came my way, as it will come your way. If you're willing to step back and assess for yourself, find the ladder in your life. And sometimes you go up and sometimes you go down the ladder, up and down the ladder. But in the end, you wind up in your sweet spot. And so as I journey through life now, I decided that I was going to write down my experiences of 29 years because it was not always easy. I left out some of the hard days. There were many hard days. And those of you who have gone through your career can probably look back and see those hard days. And those of you who are in the struggle now, hold on. Great things are here for all of us. We need to sponsor each other. We need to take care of each other. And we need to remember that it does not matter where you come from. It only matters who you choose to be. And so who are you choosing to be? You see, My journey and your journey will be different. Yet, they're all going to be built around our character and our actions. So I ask you to be thoughtful and have a plan to define success. You see, a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. So don't wait. Create that plan. I tell people all the time, 5 years, write down 5 years. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Not only in your professional life, but in your personal life. Because many conflicts arise, especially for women, when our personal and professional lives do not integrate and they clash. And it can easily happen. I ask you to be intellectually curious and believe in lifelong learning. Audience participation. Everybody pull out your keys. Okay, let's spell it together. K-E-E-Y. Knowledge empowers you. Seek knowledge. Seek information. If you want a seat at the table, you need to know your stuff. You see, pretty faces are not enough. Right? Knowledge empowers you. We use a key all the time. Be reminded that knowledge empowers you. And I also ask you to find your voice. We all have a voice. Today I get to stand up and use my voice. But you've got a voice and you've got a story. And I want you to tell that story. Be proud of that story. I come from humble beginnings. And I used to be embarrassed by my humble beginnings. I was competing for jobs with people who went to Ivy League schools and who had mentors and sponsors and country club membership and a whole lot of other things. And I didn't. But I'm okay with that because you know what? I like me. Everybody else is taken. And so that voice and that presence is very, very important. So symbolically, you see, the bottom of a ladder is wide. There are a lot of people at the bottom of the ladder. But you know what? When you have the courage to get on the ladder and climb up, it doesn't make you better than anybody. It just gives you a new view. It empowers you to not forget who's clustering around the bottom of the ladder, but to bend down and bring somebody up with you. It is our responsibility to give back, not to be an elitist at the top of the ladder, but to instead be empowered by the opportunity that has been afforded you to climb the ladder, to get to the next level, but to also remember to give back. So the next time you see a ladder, remember, one rung at a time, and sometimes you gotta get off the ladder in order to be successful. Success is a defining moment for all of us, but guess who gets to write the definition? You get to be the author of your success. And so I ask you, what are you doing to get to the next level? Leadership and authority are meant for building people up and not tearing people down. And that starts with you. How many times are you, does that fit? Am I good enough? Am I skinny enough? Am I tall enough? Am I this enough? Leadership builds up, and we have to start with ourselves. It never tears down. It is really easy for me to sponsor Diane when Diane is in the room. But am I sponsoring Diane when Diane is not in the room and when my career is not going well? Do I have something positive to say about Diane? A lot of times we forget that sponsorship is about taking care of somebody all the time, especially when they are not a voice at the table. So that's one thing that I really wish, especially as women, we have to sponsor each other all the time. We've got to have something nice to say all the time. You know how Mama told you, if you don't have something nice to say, right? Just sponsor a woman of all nationalities, of all ages, of all beliefs. Sponsor. Mentorship, I'm a big advocate for mentorship. I want to share with you, and I'm hoping that maybe it becomes viral. I started a mentorship group with 25 women. It's 100% virtual. They're all over the country because I was doing one-offs, and the one-offs weren't working. So I put them together. We created a website. We get on the phone once a month, and I take them through a presentation. I have a woman who is prestigious in America come and talk for 5 minutes. It's surprising. You call people and say, would you talk to my mentor group for 5 minutes on the phone on Sunday night, fourth Sunday at 8 o'clock? Many people say yes. And they get on the phone and they empower people. So we need to see, Sunday night at 8 o'clock, virtual, you don't have to go anywhere. And it just has become something very empowering. We just had our second meeting, so I just started it. If somebody here could be bold enough to say, get 25 women. My women run from 21 to 57. Because we all need a helping hand. Not a handout, but a hand up. And so I strongly believe in mentorship and sponsorship, but I think you got to tell people like it is. When people are not doing a good job, you have to tell them, not to hurt their feelings, but to empower them to be better. Because remember, knowledge empowers you, and people need to know how they're performing. So I believe in sponsorship and mentorship. So the reality is there's no such thing as balance. It's about choices. And not looking back on your choice. It could be the worst choice ever, but it's done. Move on. If you were supposed to look backwards, you would have eyes in the back of your head, right? So there's no such thing as balance, no such thing. What I do is I make choices every day, and I do not mind saying no to anybody for anything. So I've had to step down from boards. I'm going to get more momentum because I'm willing to step down and take my name off a list so that I can make good choices. I wasn't spending enough time at home. I was running like a crazy lady, and I just said, something's got to give. So it's not balance, it's choice, and make wise ones, and you have to make new ones every day. I didn't always feel valued. I was bothered by my complexion, my hair. I was really skinny. I didn't have a mother. I didn't know anybody who didn't have a mother. Everybody I knew had a mother. Do you know what that is? Hard. It's hard. So don't expect for a young person to understand that, because it's hard. We as grown men and women, when we lose our parents, we know how much it hurts. When you're 13 and your mom is just gone, you don't understand that. But what I did have is the memory of faith, family, and education. And I had a lot of people who loved on me. Remember, my aunt, who was 29 years old, adopted 3 kids, and she had 2 of her own. She was 29 with 5 kids. And my aunt is only 15 years older than I am. So I was looking her in her eye when I came to visit. Hey, we're here. So it's hard. Don't expect babies to understand. What we need is mentors and people to love on them, to embrace them, to give them hope. And in time, they can turn a corner. The reality is there are a lot of babies out here who have not been read to, who have not been loved, who have not been told good things, and it's hard to give them hope. So what I would say is I had a foundation that got built upon. I am tenacious by my personality. I don't take no for an answer, all those things. But I think it's about character. And I think we've just got to pour into young people. My greatest causes are for children. I love adults, don't get me wrong, but I trade an adult off any day to help a child. So I don't have the perfect answer. I'm just going to say that it was foundational, and it's hard, and every day was not a good day for me. But I've learned to love me, and it took time. You can't do anything about how people perceive you because some people have developed their perception before you walk in the room. So now what you've got to do is say, who am I? And be your authentic self. And sometimes the person who screams the loudest is actually not the person who has the best idea. And sometimes you've got to syndicate away from the table. You see, you've got to send a note. You've got to go see people for coffee and lunch. And you've got to create your board of directors around you, right? So what I do is I'm a good listener. I listen twice as much as I talk because I have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? And so I would suggest be a great listener and create those relationships away from the table. Because when you try to create them at the table, everybody's trying to get something done and get out. And so spend some time away from the table. Find that one thing that you are extraordinary at and be extraordinary at it. And sometimes you will not have a voice on every topic. Because I got to tell you, I went into healthcare, financial services. I didn't know what they were talking about. I would just write stuff down. I was like, I can't even spell some of these words. But one day I said to a doc, I was sitting next to him, I said, is there an acronym book? He said, yes. And just from a little intellectual curiosity, grew relationships. I mean, I love my docs in the community. I go to the movies and they're like, there's that crazy board member, Michelle, how you doing? So voice is not always at the table. Sometimes it's away from the table. Ask good questions. When you don't know, acknowledge you don't know. But watch the room, because we have to adjust to the culture of the boardroom table. We can't create the culture. We might be able to steer the culture over time, but when you're new, give yourself time. Give yourself time. One of the things I write about is patience. And it's a great character attribute. Be patient with yourself. And so I ask you to be leaders with me in your small corner of the world first. And if all of us are great leaders in our small corner of the world, we will come together and do great things. May your character be the highlight of your leadership. Thank you, thank you, thank you.